Taylor to You is a podcast where your host Taylor Doherty talks with individuals who fascinate her as she's inspired by the greatest gift us humans have to offer, our story. Each guest story is unique and tailored in its own way, and that's exactly what Taylor loves about them.
So, I mean, that's what alcohol does. It robs you of a lot of things.
And I know that we're going into it, and I don't want this to be all about, the alcohol, but it is so important to your story.
It is. It is absolutely the number one reason for my success.
I'm sure you didn't expect you'd be where you are today.
No. I had no idea I would have what I have today. No idea.
See, that's the humble person inside.
Yeah.
You still probably can't believe it.
Pinch me, I'm good. Right.
I love it. This is your host, Taylor Doherty. My next guest is someone I have known my whole life, and he never fails to ever mention, make good decisions. And boy, did he make good decisions. His quote does ring true. Michael Lattner is an entrepreneur, trader, investor. He retired at 45 years old. With all of that being said, he is one of the best people I have ever known, and anyone who meets him says the same. His love for his family and friends is second to none. We talk family, business ventures, what a young entrepreneur should know. Possible investor? It could be you. That's what I like to say to him. Come on, Taylor, to you. Please enjoy Michael Lattner.
People do ask my advice on a lot of things. I don't think I'm certainly not the end-all be-all of know-it-all, because I'm not. And I think that's important, that if you want to make it in this world, you need to be humble, and you need to be able to take other people's opinion and work with it sometimes, because
Definitely.
we don't know it all.
And being able, that's something I think is important with me. I always like to ask questions. Because
ask questions. There are no stupid questions.
Thank you. Okay, I've always said that.
I remember one time we were at I was in a conference with guys at work, and someone used this elegant word, and I turned to him, I go, can you put it in layman's terms? I don't know what that word means.
But exactly.
Right,
I mean,
right.
and it may not be, people say people who ask questions are actually the smartest in the room because they want to learn more and they're not afraid to ask those questions.
Yeah.
You are really an inspiration to all of us. My sisters, my older sister who started her own company came to you a lot at first, just little advice and things that she wanted to do. I've been coming to you as well. And you just have something about you where you're very easy to talk to and take advice from. So I just want to learn more about, it's kind of fun too, because we don't necessarily sit down and do this and go through your career and those things. I just know, what you did originally. And so it's going to be fun for me too.
Yeah.
I'm going to learn a lot about you today.
All right. Yeah.
But I do want to start with kind of your upbringing.
Sure.
Because that is why you're here.
The most important part. Yeah.
You always credit, growing up and your family. You're a big family guy.
Yep. So, I grew up in a family of 8 kids. Yeah, 4 boys,
Wild.
4 girls. And I'm the 4th boy and number 6 of 8. And my twin sister is number 7. But growing up, grew up in a, modest house in Oak Park, South Oak Park. We didn't have much. My dad struggled as a restaurateur in Chicago, and my mom worked at a local tavern making lunches and serving lunches. So
And you did that.
Yeah, she did. And and then
Trying her best.
and,
A lot of kids.
I'm talking about work. I mean, she would work that job and also put food on, go to 3 grocery stores to find the best deal.
Great value.
Right. Great value.
No Heinz ketchup in the Lattner house.
Yeah, right. It was
Or the Doherty house growing up.
It was, my mom and dad lived paycheck to paycheck, and she, her brothers and sisters helped out too. They didn't give us money, but my Uncle Jim, my mom's brother, gave my dad a job when he needed it. So it was important.
Family helping family. That's a big staple of your life.
It is. If you can't help family, who can you help, right?
Exactly.
And, Exactly.
Okay, so that is so funny. People make fun of how I say exactly. It's like how Gracie, your daughter, says straighten. She'll be like, "Oh, I straightened my hair," and I say it with exactly.
Exactly. That's okay. We all have our little words that we can't say.
So funny you point that out. No, I mean it's true. Wait, so growing up with all the siblings, was there ever competition?
Well, yeah, with three older brothers, you were always playing sports, and we'd play basketball, we'd play football in the street, we would play,
Was Billy the basketball guy?
No, Uncle Bill. Bill was, I have to tell you, Uncle Bill is probably the best athlete in the family.
Oh, he's still to this day. He's always trying to get us up from tanning by the pool and do something, play badminton, do something active.
He's always on the go. He's the energized bunny.
Yes.
And,
He literally is.
So, yeah, he's a great athlete. Jax was a great athlete and probably still is in his own right in high school.
Hell of a bags guy.
Jack. Uncle Jack.
He put up some good competition for me this past summer.
Yeah. And then
Me and May might have brought home the win, though.
That's right. That's right. Did you beat? Who'd you beat?
I think it was. Well, it might have ended up being my dad and John, but I was with Bird. I ended up playing with Bird in the championship.
Got it.
But May was, rooting for me on the side because we're the OG partners. It's hard for us to root against each other. No, but that's so funny because also with sports, I want to mention too, your dad is Johnny Lattner. I mean, he won the Heisman Trophy at Notre Dame.
Yep.
He later played professionally for the Pittsburgh Steelers, which how cool now your nephew Robert is playing for the Steelers as well.
Pittsburgh Steelers.
And so it just all kind of came full circle with sports.
My dad's number with the Steelers was 14, and Robert's number is 41. So
Wow.
I'm sure,
He's looking down
I'm
at
sure
him
Papa
so
John's
proud.
looking down at Robert and
I love that.
very, very proud. But getting back to my family, my dad never used his fame he never used it to get anywhere in life.
I was going to say, because he still struggled.
He struggled, and he was always humble and very modest. And, he was a great example to us kids growing up, how a strong person can be humble and, very generous and giving to others.
Which, how you're describing him right now is exactly how I would describe you. Exactly how I would describe you.
Well, and growing up, we grew up playing cards. We grew up, our parents would be at my aunt's house or our house and it'd be around the dining room table playing cards, playing hearts or spades or Raz or, whatever game was being played that night. And
we still do it. This past Christmas Eve, you were kind of your dad in the sense where now you were the one dealing the cards and you were getting us all going. And I swear there was times you'd be like, Tay, because I literally wasn't looking. I was busy trying to get my red wine. And you're like, okay, you gotta be serious about the game. Jen, your wife, ended up bringing home again the full pot.
No.
She did win.
She is lucky.
She has it about her.
In so many ways.
So many. We'll get into Jen Bren as well. Was there other people in your life that sparked that interest for you, business sense?
My dad was not a good business person.
Okay. Well, he had a couple of restaurants, that were up and down.
He did have a couple. He had his first restaurant was actually very successful, but it burnt down, and his second restaurant, they moved, wasn't as successul.
And why restaurants? Well, what drew him there?
I think it was his notoriety, his fame.
Right.
That
our phrases are off today.
Yeah. So he started the restaurant in the '60s.
I was gonna say because it was before you all were born.
Yeah. Well, I think he started mid '60s, so I was just being born. So I do remember going to the restaurant, his second restaurant, which was Marina City, and my mom would make my dad take all the kids down on a Saturday, Sunday, so she could have some time to herself.
Oh, wow.
So we would all go downtown, and then my mom would show up for Sunday night dinner there, and we would have dinner
How
together.
nice.
Yeah, that was nice. But we probably would terrorize the restaurant. Run
Yes.
around in the kitchen.
Oh my God, they're probably like the
"Hey,
Lattner kids.
Yeah, exactly.
Right, the Lattner kids are coming in tonight.
Exactly.
Hide the knives.
There was things to do though. They had an ice skating rink there in the building. They had bowling across the street. They had a movie theater. So there was things to do while we were there. I remember Sunday mornings they would have mass there, and we would have to stack the chairs after mass, and we would stack them, 5 to 6 high, and we'd put stacks together, and we'd run along the top of them.
Oh my gosh, at the church.
Yeah. Well, it was the conference room, or
Okay.
not the like where they serve big banquets and stuff like that.
Yes.
And we would just
Literally causing havoc.
Yeah.
See, it's so interesting too, because when I'm sure people listening would think, oh, won the Heisman, played in the NFL, but then how you grew up was the complete opposite.
8 kids to feed, and when they shut down the restaurant, he was actually working for the sheriff's department. Someone got him a job there, serving warrants. Right. And
Did he ever serve any of you all warrants?
No, he never did. But talking about being humble enough to do that, you know what I mean?
Definitely. Going from the NFL to then try to start a restaurant, that doesn't work out. I'm going to go to the sheriff's office.
Right. It
really shows.
He wasn't above those kind of
He wasn't
kinds of
entitled.
jobs. He wasn't. And he did what he had to do for his family. That's what I would say.
And would you say in a sense that's how you are? You working and trying to find all those different successes with those companies and still investing today. Do you do it for your family deep down?
I do it because I think it's interesting, and I hope to make money at it.
Yeah.
Right.
It's not for Grace May or Tommy or John. No, I'm kidding.
No, they'll be fine.
No, but that's amazing that you still love it. Because you've been retired now. I mean, it was 45 when you retired.
Yeah.
But quote unquote retired because you're
I
still
worked.
doing so many things.
Yeah. My sister Kate and I started that one real estate company to, put family to work. And it was great. It was right after the Great Recession, and we were getting really cheap housing and, putting people to work. It was awesome. So
you were putting was it your family you want to put to work, like your immediate family, or just people in general because of the recession?
Well, so
Both.
it was the family, but if it was a friend that needed work, I always brought him on.
Which I just love that about you as well.
Yeah.
You're all about paying it forward in a sense. You want to help others since you have those resources now.
Yeah,
Because you
right.
you did it on your own.
Yeah.
And now you want to help others.
Yeah, and I think family's important, right?
That's all you have at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, the only people around your bedside are gonna be family.
For sure. And me. I'll be there.
And
Don't
close
you
friends.
worry.
And a few close friends, right?
But we always joke too, we watch Shark Tank and we'll joke that if you were an investor, you would ask the person trying to, make the investment, do you work with family? Do you hire family? Do you care about family? And if they say no, you'd be like, and for that reason, I'm out.
I don't know about that.
I mean, not actually to a T, but other investments, it's not necessarily just family, but I do think that is a big foundation of who you are and some of your business ventures.
Yeah.
And that's really cool. And that's something, too, that not a lot of people would necessarily do, I'd say. I think a lot of people would take their successes and run with it.
Again, it comes back to my upbringing. We shared things. I always got hand-me-downs. We always shared, everyone got about the same amount of food, right? So you were always sharing stuff,
No, it's amazing.
That's the way it was. You had to figure it out. You had to be able to get along. And being able to get along means sharing. It means accepting.
It means caring.
It means accepting less sometimes for the betterment of someone else, putting aside your wants for other people's needs. So
This is like a TED Talk.
yeah, I mean that's who I am. That's how I grew up, and that's who
It's
my
what led
mom
you
and
here.
dad were. They sacrificed everything for us 8 kids.
8 kids. That's still so wild.
you know. And I remember I was in 8th grade, and we didn't have much, but we were getting by, but, you know, certainly not a lot in the bank. And Fenwick High School offered me a full scholarship. My dad turned it down and said, "Give it to someone else. We don't need it."
Wow, I've never
And
heard this
when
story.
we really did. And
Right.
so,
And wait, why did you receive a full scholarship? Was it for sports?
yeah, yep,
For football?
football.
Wow. And were they handing those out regularly, or was it more was it a big moment for your family?
No, they handed them out every year to good football players. You know.
Well, congrats. I've never knew that.
Yeah.
Congrats back to your high school glory days.
Yeah, exactly.
No, but that's amazing, and it just shows again that even if your dad did need the money at the time, and he thought there's other people that needed it more.
It was amazing how my mom and dad had this undying faith that everything was going to be okay. And that goes back to their Catholic upbringing, to the way they viewed the world and how they treated one another.
Well, and that's the optimism that we need, and that not a lot of people have to this day.
You know, times are different, I guess. When I graduated college, you know, I put myself through college. There was no money from my mom and dad coming to me.
And was that with all your siblings? Everyone, if you
Yeah.
wanted to go to college,
Yeah,
you put yourself through it.
Everyone put themselves through college. There was no money to be had.
And so you started at Iowa, and
I
then
started at Iowa.
and it was a
my
little too
freshman
expensive,
year.
right?
Yeah. And I transferred to Eastern Illinois because I was getting Illinois money and Pell Grants and stuff from Illinois. And I finished up in my normal 4 years. And yeah, I ended with a $10,000 loan,
Wow.
student loan. So
How long did that take for you to pay that off? See, I'm so fortunate. Just like
let's
your
see.
children are so
I think
fortunate.
probably
You
4
don't have to worry
years.
about
I
that.
paid it off in 4 years. I paid it off early, you know.
Wow. So is that like a monthly installment?
Yeah, it was like
probably
like less
sound
than
so-
$100 a month. It was.
But I probably sound so ignorant because there's so many people my age to this day that I'm sure are paying. I know friends of mine that are paying for
Yeah.
their loans and graduated. I graduated from college and I started working. I'm still living at home.
You guys are fortunate that your mom and dad
Definitely.
paid for your college education.
But to hear your story and also the fact that too, all of your successes and everything that you've done, you didn't go to Harvard. You didn't go to the best business school in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't. You know, I don't know. It was different times back then, and you know, you tried not to burden your family with, you know, a big tuition payment, right? So I didn't. I put myself through school. So I wasn't going to Harvard. I wasn't going to Notre Dame. I wasn't going to Illinois. Oh, I could have gone to Illinois, but you know.
You have to make those sacrifices.
Yeah, you had to make those decisions. Let's see.
Was it hard for you to leave Iowa too?
It was. Yeah.
You're with my dad. Was that?
It was a lot of fun. Yeah, we had a great
I
time.
want to know what trouble you two got in.
Yeah, we got in a lot of trouble.
Still to this day.
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow, that's so interesting. So was it hard for you to transition? But then again, it wasn't that big of a transition because you had your brother and my Uncle Jamie there.
Yeah, and
You had people you knew.
It wasn't a big transition, and truth be told, I didn't know what I wanted to do.
So what was your major?
Econ.
Okay, so it was in the
Yeah.
realm of business.
Yeah. And I didn't know. Graduating, I'm like, I didn't know. I got home from, my parents never came down to graduation.
I was going to say, you always joke, and so does my dad.
Yeah.
Because when you guys drop us off at college, sometimes you guys will come with my parents, or my parents will go with. We make it a whole production. And they say, my parents never visited. They dropped me off, and they picked me up.
That's right. My freshman year at
So
Iowa, my
funny.
dad dropped me off in front of Bird's dorm with 3 boxes. He gave me $20 and said, "Good luck."
Wow.
Yeah, and left. And
Be humble.
Yeah.
Sit down.
Yeah. I mean, that's different times. I mean, now it is a big production.
Dad's weekend, mom's weekend.
Yeah, right.
Lattner weekend. We create our own weekends.
Yeah, right. So yeah, I mean, good experience. Eastern Illinois is a good school for the value.
Go Panthers.
For the value, go Panthers. Right.
What did you do after graduation? Did you start working right
Yes.
away?
All right, so I graduated.
Ha-ha.
That's what I want to get back to. I graduated and I got home and my mom said, "Well, what are you going to do?" I go, "I don't know." And she goes, "Well, you're going to paint the house this summer." So I painted the house.
Yes.
And then she's like, "Well, you need to get a job." So I went and applied for a sales job at Gleason Chevrolet, and I started selling cars.
In Oak Park?
in Forest Park.
Okay.
And I started selling cars right away. And I did that for 6 months. And
Were you a good salesman?
I was okay. I wasn't the greatest, but, I was in the middle of the pack. So I sold cars for 6 months, and I didn't like it. And my brother Tim and my brother Jack and my sister were all down at the exchange. And my brother Tim got me a job clerking. And I started clerking down at the exchange, and that's how I got into
And can you
trading.
explain too with clerking, for example?
So
what is that role?
I started off checking trades for a broker that I worked for, and basically making sure that there were no out trades. So you check trades with the opposite person that made the trade, and I did that for a little bit. Then learned ARB hand signals, and started doing some of that, and then worked my way up until eventually I decided to go off on my own and start trading on my own.
And how old were you when you started to trade on your own?
Let's see, it's probably 25.
Oh, wow. So you were about 5 years before you made that transition.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I worked down at exchange at least 3 or 4 years before I went into the pit. Yeah.
Because I think what people always think too, and myself included, is if you want to start a company, you got to do it now. You got to make all these moves. However, a lot of entrepreneurs, you don't realize their trajectory. You, for example, 25, and then it came later as well.
Yeah.
It's not right away. It's not going to happen overnight.
It's not right away. The Mark Zuckerbergs of the world, the Gateses of the world, those are unicorns. They saw something and ran with it. First of all, I'm not as smart as those guys.
I would say you are. You
Those are
don't give
very
yourself
smart.
enough credit.
Those
When I
guys
wanted
are
to
very
interview
smart,
you, it was
but,
so funny. I remember I called you and I was walking to work. And you're like, what's up, Tay-Tay? It's like 8 a.m. And you're up probably, with your coffee hanging out. And Gene Sullivan was there, of course. I'm like, what are you two doing at 8 in the morning together, just hanging out?
Right.
And I asked him, like, I want to interview you. And I remember you kept saying, I'm not interesting. I have nothing to tell. And I started to explain, well, everything you've done, and people be really fascinated. And you're so humble and so cute. You were like, maybe they would like that. But it's so true. You sell yourself short in a way because it really is fascinating. And just kind of going in with Gecko, that was your big break.
Yeah, but I needed, that didn't come overnight either. I mean,
Was that when you were 25, though?
No, that was when I was 33, 32.
Wow. So it really
33.
did take some time.
Yeah, so I traded.
All good things?
I traded for 5 or 6 years before that even came up. So I was on my own for 5 or 6 years.
And what's the pit like? I'm picturing Wall Street. Is that a good representation?
It was a octagon with a bunch of guys next to each other and sweaty, smelly. Yeah.
Were you one of the sweaty and smelly ones?
I wanted busy days. Everyone was sweaty and smelly.
What were your day-to-days and how long were those hours like? Weren't you on like the 5 a.m. train even earlier?
No. We would get down to work at 6:45 and off the floor at 2, home by 3. So those were great hours.
So 2 p.m.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Those were great hours.
I was going to say,
Awesome
I'd rather get up
hours.
earlier if I could get home before it gets dark in Chicago.
Those were awesome hours. And here's what I'll say about working at the exchange and on the floor. When the times were good, everyone was happy. When the times were bad, everyone was angry. And, the good times were great. They were awesome. Everyone was making money. It was easy. Yeah.
Wow. Because it is other lives at stake too with these trades. It's
right.
a lot of money going in. So the best of the best are doing it. I'm sure there's also some competition there.
Yeah. Oh, huge competition. Before I talk about business, I have to tell you, I haven't had a drink in like 28 years. The most important events that happened to me in my life without sobriety, I don't have a family. I don't have a career. I don't have the things that I have. I have a lot of heartache and failure, right? And in sobriety, you just make better decisions. You make clear-minded decisions. So anyone that's listening to this, it's not so bad. Sobriety's not so bad.
Yes.
It's turned
You
out.
can miss that day drink for a world of successes.
Exactly. I tell my kids, I go, when you drink, you don't put the best you forward.
But really, alcohol doesn't bring the best in people. You have to be
Right.
careful with it. And
Right.
you knew that you and that
It's
substance.
playing with fire. I didn't know what kind of a drunk I was going to be if I drank.
And what kind of drunk were you?
I didn't know. I didn't know if I was going to be the happy-go-lucky Mike
so it changed.
or the angry Mike. And more often than not, I was more the angry Mike than the happy-go-lucky Mike. So I knew, you know what? I knew. I had uncles that stopped drinking, and I knew.
Would you say it's a gene?
I don't know if it's a gene, but everyone knows. You know what I mean? People that say they didn't think they were an alcoholic when they really are, they knew. They just won't admit to it. You know what I mean?
Well, in that time, too, growing up and drinking was not as big as it is today in a sense of getting in trouble and drinking and driving.
Yeah, right. Drinking and driving back then was kind of acceptable. It's not acceptable today. And
The stories that you guys have told me, I mean, I don't want to get into them,
right.
but it is crazy. Even law enforcement, whatever, would just be like, okay, just make sure you get home safe.
Yeah, right.
And it's so great that these laws are changing because it's helping so many people to not drink and drive and do those things. But it is true, to your point, that people knew because it was what they were exposed to.
Drunkenness was more acceptable back then than it is today. It's not acceptable in any society to be drunk. And I don't know. That's all I'm going to say about it. I think I'm a good example of the people that, you don't need to drink to have fun. I have tons of fun with people.
You are always the glorified DD. You like to be around everyone. It's so funny, too, because it doesn't seem like it affects you. Like you said, you are still with us. You do everything with us. You go to the casino and hang out.
It doesn't affect me, but I know when there's a time to go home, if that makes sense.
Yes.
Like, I know when I got to get out of there because I'm had enough.
Because you'll start to kind of get a little irritated. Do you get irritated by drunk people? Do you get irritated by me?
I do get irritated, but I won't let them know. I mean, I'll just disappear.
Oh, you totally pull the Irish exit.
Yeah.
You will just sneak up to bed and you won't tell anyone.
Yeah, right.
But kind of going into that too, are you still involved with AA?
I am not. I probably haven't gone to a meeting in 5 years. Early on in my sobriety, I went every day for like 10 years.
And did you go because you felt the urge to drink, or more so because you like to hear those stories and talk about it?
I didn't want. It was a good, AA is a great place to learn who you are and what sets you off and how to fix you.
No, honestly, I have wanted to go to one of those meetings in a sense just because I feel like people tell really great stories and they lift each other up. And it's almost a way, like you said, to learn about yourself and grow as a person. It's not always about the alcohol that people talk about. Right. So I think it'd be almost a cool experience for all of us to go. Maybe we could set up a little Sunday fun day.
Yeah, right.
You'll go with us. You'll show us the ropes.
Yeah, right. No,
of AA.
That's okay.
I'll have to return my chips the following week. Right. I'm sure you would agree that when you removed alcohol from the equation, your life went in a completely different direction.
It did. It took off. And when I don't even know if I'd be alive.
That's so, gosh.
I don't know about that, but I certainly...
Made me cry over here.
I certainly wouldn't have the things that I have today. I wouldn't have my family. So, I mean, that's what alcohol does. It robs you of a lot of things.
And I know that we're going into it. I don't want this to be all about, the alcohol, but it is so important to your story.
It is. It is absolutely the number one reason for my success.
Because I know there's some people out there who can be affected by it, whether it's them, someone they love, right. Any regard. When you personally removed that from your story grew and it just became what you wanted it to be and even more. Mm-hmm. I'm sure you didn't expect you'd be where you are today.
No, I had no idea I would have what I have today. No idea.
See, that's the humble person inside.
Yeah,
you still probably can't believe it.
Pinch me, I'm dreaming. Right.
I love it. So then what did you want to be when you were growing up, though? Did you want to do trading, or was there a dream job?
I thought, I remember my junior year in college, I clerked for my brother Jack, and he was a successful pit trader, and I thought that was pretty cool. So
Right.
yeah, that was kind of.
Because he had his successes too. I mean,
he did.
I feel like a lot of people in your family were in the pit, like you
Yeah.
mentioned earlier. That's kind
Right.
of how you got your foot in the door.
Right. So so my brother Tim was a successful trader. Yeah, I just wanted to follow in their footsteps. My path was different from theirs. I clerked, then went into trading, and then I was kind of tired fighting around for trades in the Eurodollar, so I went down the S&Ps. Wasn't doing good.
What are
there.
S&Ps?
The S&P 500 futures. It's a futures contract at the Merc. Then I hooked up with Steve Schuler and Dan Tierney, and we.
And what were they doing at the time? Were they also
were
in the
just,
same
They were just getting their business going, get-go.
get-go?
Yeah, and so
That's where it all begins.
That's where it all starts. And I went to Dan. I goes, Dan, I think we can do a pit the screen trade in the Nasdaq. Let's try it. And I went down into the pit because I had good pit presence and understanding. And
Years of experience.
yeah, years of experience. I started making markets around the electronic market, and Dan would get us out. I would get us into a trade. Dan would get us out, and that was the start. And we did really well right from the beginning.
The three amigos.
Yeah.
So it was you three.
And yeah, that was the bankroll, or that was the cash that helped get GetGo going. It wasn't all of
the
it, but
beginning
it was,
trades that you were doing, then Dan was getting you out of.
Yeah, and that was we grew from 2 employees to 400 employees from that.
Wow.
Right.
And so with that, GetGo, for those who don't know, they saw a really key trend that was happening.
Dan Tierney saw the electrification of markets. He saw that trend early on, and we capitalized on it, and we were able to rule those markets for years because of that.
Because it transitioned from
open outcry
to the computer-based trading.
Yes.
Which is so important for entrepreneurs to know now, that it's really great. I mean, you told me this before. Find the next trend.
Yeah.
That's what's going to get a new business, a new company. That's what you should be looking for, essentially.
Absolutely. There's trends in the marketplace that are happening that will blossom, and the founders will make billions of dollars off of it. Right. And that's
wild. And it's so crazy too, with all these different companies, all these different inventions. Every day something's changing, but there's still going to be something new. It's like, how do we keep up with it?
Well, here, let's take you can take Uber, how Uber came into the marketplace and displaced taxis, right?
Yeah.
How many people get taxis anymore? They get Uber, right? You can take Amazon. Amazon came into the marketplace, displaced department stores, bookstores, department stores.
It's been technology, essentially.
It is. It's a good thing and a bad thing. A lot of jobs were lost when department stores go out of business, but hopefully new jobs are created. Hopefully those jobs pay a little bit more than the ones that were lost.
That's you always thinking of others. You're always finding, find your way.
But you gotta find the trend. You gotta open your eyes and see trends in the marketplace.
And so when you were talking with Dan and remind me the other
Steven Schuler.
Dan and Steven, you were kind of taking a chance also on developing, this high frequency trading company. You didn't know where it was really going to go. It was new.
It was new.
What was your mindset when you heard of this opportunity, and what about the company intrigued you and the idea?
I just, it made sense to me. I trusted my gut, and I took a risk. And
in what way?
It paid out. Well,
was it a large investment, or how did that work?
So I made an agreement with Dan and Shu that, I wanted a piece of the business, and I'd help them, keep doing this pit the screen trade and the company grow that way. And I did that for a year and a half while the company grew. And when I left, I got equity for that. And then when I left the floor, I had to reinvent myself. I had to learn how to trade from a computer. I had to learn programming, basic programming. I had to learn a lot of stuff about, computers. And that was scary. I had to go out and get my Series 7, my Series 66.
Yes. Well, because it was changing from the open outcry to the computer.
Yeah.
So you had a teacher. So as you guys are deciding, this is so great. Now you're kind of like, oh God, now I got to learn how to do this
Now I
shit.
got to start over again. Yeah.
Yes.
And,
So a lot of people probably were doing that, going through the same transition you were.
well, I would say no. The people we hired were programmers and
Oh, so they had experience with it.
well, they had experience with computers, but they were unencumbered by anything learned from Open Outcry. They could learn this new language.
They could code and
and figure it out, mathematically.
when you have an idea and when you're starting something, telling future employees, like, this is our idea, this is what we want to do. Is that something where it's difficult to get people to get involved?
No, I think you're not telling them. They already know. And they can see it, and they catch on pretty quick that this is the future. And so it's not like a hard sell.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, it was awesome. I tell you, it was when I got over that transition to going from on the floor to off the floor, and when I got comfortable doing what I was doing, it was the best job I ever had. And
Wow, well, that's amazing.
I couldn't wait. Yeah, it was awesome. I couldn't wait to get up and get to work. I would go to bed thinking about stuff. It was...
You couldn't turn your mind off in a sense from work because you loved
Yeah.
it so much.
It was,
Isn't that the dream? The goal?
It is the dream. The goal, and I tell this to my kids, is find your passion. And if you can find your passion, you're blessed.
It won't feel like work.
Exactly. And if you can find your passion and make money, you're twice blessed. And I did. And I was lucky. And...
But you always
It was
say
great.
lucky. And I mean, some situations come with luck. However, you worked hard.
Yeah, no, I guess
didn't all come.
There is a saying, luck is where hard work and I forget what the saying.
Being
was.
Irish meat.
Something, yeah, hard work and shoot, I can't remember. Oh well,
No.
disregard that.
No. And sane. No, but
Cut that out. Edit that. Hold on, let me clap.
but
I think it's hard work and inspiration meet.
hard work and inspiration meet.
Yeah.
If it's not, I think we should just go with it because I like how that
Yeah,
sounds.
right.
Hard work and inspiration meet. I love that. All the stuff with Gecko, you moved from, being down in the pit to then working with Dan and Steven. And then now you...
Trading off the floor.
Trading off the floor.
Yeah.
And then what happened between that time to your retirement? How old were you when you were making the transitions and then you retired at 45?
I think I was 34 when Gecko, or 33 when Gecko was started. Maybe
And
34,
was it a success
34.
right away?
Yes,
34, okay.
we did well right away.
And so what was it like not having necessarily, like we mentioned before, your upbringing, growing up very humble, not having, wearing hand-me-downs, not having all the luxuries in life that one may dream and think that that's what you need in life, to then being successful right out the gate? Was that a big transition?
Well, I wouldn't say I was successful right out of the gate.
Well, not out the gate,
we didn't-
when you started
I
working with
didn't-
Gecko.
I didn't get that money right off the bat. I had to trade.
It was slowly.
I had to earn my income, so it was slow. It was over. The company did well, but I still had to.
They're not giving all their employees right out of the gate all the money.
Right. I still had to trade well and make money for the company, and I got my salary plus a bonus, and that's what we lived off of for many years until this economic event that happened, and I was able to get liquidity and that's kind of how it worked,
And retire.
Yeah.
So wild. We always joke too, like, what does a retired guy do? But you still have your hand in so many different business ventures. I don't really think you're retired. You're still working.
Yeah. So after Getco, I was there 11 years, and I didn't know what I wanted to do after Getco. I was ready to try new things.
The fun of it.
Yeah. So my sister came up to me and said, "Hey, let's start this company. We'll rehab houses. Houses are cheap. We can buy them up really cheap, and we'll put family to work." And and flip them and sell them and go on to the next house. So we did that. We did about 30 of them or thereabouts. I can't remember.
One of the houses in Grand Beach. I remember we went.
Houses in Grand Beach.
Yes.
We did a couple in River Forest. We did a bunch in Elmwood Park. We did a bunch in Oak Park. Yeah, we did.
And isn't that fun too, working with your family?
It is.
Because you kind of, like we mentioned before, you got into trading with your family, and now it all kind of circles back. You're working with them, but more hands-on in a sense with making decisions too. You're going through all those steps for the betterment of the company and your employees.
Right. So Camco was started. My brother Bill worked for us. It was Kate and I.
Camco stands for Kate and Mike
Company.
I love that. It's so simple, and it's just, it sounds great. You think Camco, and you would think, like, what is the meaning behind it? It's just Kate and Mike Company. It's me and my sister's company.
Yeah, right.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
I love that.
And then, and at the same time, my brother Tim and I started Wyoming horse racing with Eugene Joyce out in Wyoming, and that's been successful. And we have an office in River Forest that we go to and do accounting stuff there.
Do you ever get overwhelmed? Like you have too many things on your plate, too many things on your mind?
Tim and Eugene run Wyoming horse racing. I don't run it, so I don't get caught up in the day-to-day operating of that business. I did that with Camco, and we wound down Camco. So
you wound down Camco. Oh, so it is closed now?
Well, it's not closed. We use it as an investment vehicle for investments. And so
I see.
Kate, my brother-in-law Pete Ganser, and I, we look at investments together, and we do investments together. And my brother Tim.
All family, bringing it back.
Right. It's a way to keep in touch and a way to communicate and see how things are going with everyone. And
no, it's awesome.
Talk about different things and different ideas, and I like it.
And so
Gets me out of the house, and
right, you'd be bugging Jen all goddamn day.
Yeah, right.
I'm sure she loves it. No, I'm sure she loves having you home. It was so funny watching you two when we were eating dinner, and then you're both watching Wheel of Fortune, trying to guess the letters that are coming. This is your all's night now that Tommy's at school, nobody's home. It's the two of you.
I know.
You're officially empty nesters, so I got to come over more.
Right.
So you feel like you have a kid at home. Talk about working with family members, and you love working with them. It's very clear. There's got to be some times, though, where you're like, all right, this is not a good decision on both ends. Do you guys ever get in arguments?
My first investment with my family was a complete disaster. Disaster. Lost a lot of money, and I learned a lot from it. And, but we got through it, and
because sometimes those things can break families up.
Yeah, right. You're absolutely correct. And not all businesses succeed. And, hopefully you learn from the ones that don't, and you build on that. One of the problems with today's generation is they're not allowed to fail, and that's a problem because you don't learn anything if everything's handed to you. You only learn when you fail. You only learn when you figure out how to find a way out of the situation you're in.
100%. You can't learn and grow as a person if you don't learn what doesn't work as well. Mm-hmm. And clearly you've gone through those trials and tribulations as well through your life.
And I still do.
Well, that sounds so funny.
Certain investments just don't work.
Right, because I would have never guessed that an investment wouldn't have worked for you. Because in my mind, I'm thinking, oh, you're the pro at this, you're trading, you got this, you got that. But it's still not always in your favor.
Not always. It's hard. And most of my investments now aren't. I don't start businesses anymore. I invest in funds that will invest in a portfolio of businesses, startups, or
like Questar. Is that your next one?
No. Questar is Questar. We just got into that, and it's very intriguing. And there's a bunch of people in it. There's me, my sister Kate, my brother Tim, Andy Smith, and the Lattner Trust. So yeah, there is a lot of family in there. But Questar we bought controlling interest in Questar. We didn't start Questar.
So that wasn't but that was an investment.
It was an investment.
Yes, that's your most recent one.
Yeah.
And so they found a trend too, where they went from selling DVDs to streaming.
Streaming, yeah. Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of the premise of the different companies you go for. You're always finding that next trend.
Well, Wyoming horse racing is gaming, and how can you fail at gaming? Everyone's doing it.
Everyone's doing it.
And speaking of trends, the trend of legalization of marijuana, and so
I heard you want to get involved. Oh, you have.
I got a couple investments, and I'm thinking about getting another investment in marijuana.
Do you smoke weed?
But I do not smoke weed.
We say sobriety, but we don't always mean it's just alcohol.
No, for me, it's everything.
It's everything.
Yeah, and
but are you against it?
no, I think marijuana is just like alcohol. Moderation, it's fine. I just look at the trend of legalization, and eventually it's going to be legal. And when it becomes legal, I want to be on the right side of it, right?
And that's working smart.
Yeah, right.
Not harder. Smart, not harder. The phrases are not. I've noticed that phrases are not my number one thing as I do these. But where do you see yourself kind of in, let's say, 15 years? Do you see yourself still doing investments? Do you see yourself up in Grand Beach with Jen Bren just living the life?
I can't. Well, see, I get bored easily.
You're always finding the new thing.
I can't sit on a beach and just sit there.
You're always trying to get activity going, whether it be us playing bags, a scavenger hunt, badminton. I swear. Can we just tan for 5 seconds?
It's boring.
I know. It is to you.
Yeah, right. So... yeah, I don't see myself. I say I'm retired. I'm not retired. I'm mellowing, like a fine wine.
Oh my gosh! You just get better with age.
I'm just trying to find great ideas to invest in. You know what I mean?
Definitely, and I think you have clearly with the key trends that you're finding and keep seeking those. I think that's something that's really interesting for young entrepreneurs to see that someone who's retired, someone who is still making these investments, however, you're still looking for that next thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because there's always going to be a next thing.
There's always going to be a next thing. Exactly. There's always going to be a new trend to find and to make money off of. And making money, it's, you know what? I tell my wife, less is more. Making money doesn't give you happiness. I find it rewarding that I'm able to find an investment and see that investment realize a positive
and
return.
Flourish. Yeah.
Yeah. So, that's how I treat investments. I don't think, I got to crush it like I did at Getco. I don't, I just want, a realization that, yeah, you made the right decision here.
Is there any other things you would say that are really important to you when it comes to an investment? When someone brings you an idea, are there certain things you look for or when you talk with them?
Yeah, you always want to look for good management, right? You always want to know the people that are going to run this investment know what they're doing and can pivot and maneuver, because no business is static. It's always pivoting and moving to find that the right profit, right? So you always got to be...
like we said, everything's changing.
Everything's always changing.
Every day.
Yeah, every day. Yeah, what was in today is out tomorrow, and
it's hard to keep up.
You got to adapt.
That's why I don't know how you don't feel overwhelmed or busy in that sense with all your different businesses and investments, and you have to have a little file.
Well, ask your mom.
I know exactly. My mom does your filing.
So like on right now, I'm getting out of starting businesses, more on investing and in funds that invest in startups. And I know when I invest in a startup, I want to invest in a portfolio of startups, because I don't know which one's going to succeed. You could be the smartest guy in the world, and you might... You
can ask all the questions you can ask.
Yeah, you don't know which one of those 10 are going to work. But one's going to work.
And so what is the most important thing to you, would you say, whether it be in business, life?
Do things the right way.
No shortcuts.
No shortcuts.
Oh, wow. We were on the same language there.
Treat people the way you want to be treated. Don't, be honest and take the harder road, not the easier path. Take the harder path, the less traveled path. You're gonna be rewarded more often.
Be a leader, not a follower.
Yeah, my dad used to say that all the time.
Yes.
Be a leader, not a follower.
I love that.
Yeah.
That was Margaret Doherty's number one thing. What?
We almost done here.
Yes, we're wrapping up. I just really thank you. I mean, this was so fun for me. Truly, like I said, we would never have sat down and had this conversation, really.
Probably never.
ever. But it really is fascinating, and I'm sure there's so many other people that would be fascinated by your story.
Well, I hope so.
You're interesting, I swear.
Am I interesting? Okay, great.
You are very interesting. Well, thank you. I love you, and this was amazing.
Thanks, Taylor. Appreciate it. Was it good?
Where are you going? It's your girl, Taylor. I'm back. Thank you for listening to this episode, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. I know you want more, so subscribe to the Tailored to You podcast wherever you listen to podcasts. I also encourage you to make this podcast tailored to you. Visit t2upodcast.com to submit your questions, topics of interest, types of guests, really anything. Just say hi to me. And I hope even your own story, because I'm eager to hear and share it. Let's have some fun. We'll talk soon.